Good afternoon. It is Friday, February the 2nd. I have no idea if the groundhog saw their shadow today or not. And I can never remember if a shadow means more winter or less winter. Either way, I feel like 6 more weeks of winter or spring is just around the corner. I feel like they are actually both the same. So, anyways, hello, Friday the 2nd. It's a beautiful day out. I hope that you get to enjoy someone posted for me on the Instagram that they did see their the groundhogs got their shadow, so 6 more weeks of winter. No surprise, right? 6 more weeks takes us till middle of March. Unsurprising. I want to talk to you today about some cool things that are happening in the city this weekend, some great things that I did this week that were really amazing and really heartfelt and really, really touching. A really, really very short update on the single-use bylaw because we don't need to keep rehashing what is now basically old news. And then I do want to speak to what's happening at the provincial level. So let's talk about what is happening this weekend. So starting tonight and running all weekend at the municipal atrium, so at City Hall, is the Indigenous Market as part of Chinook Blast. I'm super excited. I'm going to head down there tomorrow. So it's Indigenous makers from across Southern Alberta, most likely from the Edmonton region as well. So it's a great place to go check out handmade Indigenous work. So if you are looking for something neat and special, please go there. And of course, Chinook Blast is starting today and it's running for the next 10 days. So super excited to also check out some Chinook Blast activities this weekend as well. I'll be heading over there tomorrow. There's a bunch of family events that are happening this weekend at locations across the city, down at Olympic Plaza. Primarily, there's Pixel Park and then in East Village. And Chinook Blast is just a super fun thing. I remember the very, very first Chinook Blast. It was freezing cold. And they had cleared all of the snow on Stephen Avenue into these like big piles. And that was my kid's favorite thing to do, was just to go like free-ish tobogganing without a toboggan down these big piles of snow. So I always think sometimes we just need to build that. It is also the start of Lunar New Year. And so Lunar New Year is starting this weekend. So there are celebrations and activities happening down at the Chinese Cultural Center. There's a few other events and activities that are happening as well. But one of the big celebrations is tomorrow at about 11:30. So you can head down to the Chinese Cultural Center to check that out. And I will be there along with my council colleagues to celebrate as well. And I will have to just give a shout out to Councillor Wong. He has done a really, really fantastic job of cultivating that relationship with the Chinese community and council, and making sure that we are part of the Chinese cultural central celebrations for Lunar New Year. And so just a shout out to Terry for doing that. He's done a really fantastic job of that. It is also Black History Month. And this is super important. Did you know that Councillor Walcott, so my colleague in Ward 8, he is the first Black man on City Council in 2021. That is mind-boggling that it has taken this long. He gave remarks at Council on Tuesday. If you want to go back and watch those, I highly recommend it. Councillor Walcott talks about Black History Month. He said it's two things. So the first part is the education and the knowledge and the history of Black Calgarians, Black Canadians, and Black people globally who have made a difference in our lives, but who've had to fight to also make a difference and to challenge the norms of a white society. So he talks about that the education piece is really important. He said, of course, there's the party and he loves the party, but there is a lot going on for Black History Month. In particular, the library board member in particular, the library is doing a lot around Black History Month. And of course, the library, the events are free to participate in. They have online things, they have in-person things. So I do highly recommend you also look at all the resources that the library is putting out for Black History Month. They're doing a fantastic job of that and helping to tell the stories, in particular, of Black Calgarians. There is an event coming up later this month with respect to John Ware. And so interestingly, did you know? So I'm gonna use the N word because historically they used to name landmarks like Nigger Hill, and Southern, and these are still on some Alberta maps. So we have a long ways to go when we think about when we think about how we used to name things and the fact that we haven't got around to correcting racist behaviors, activities, and actions here in the province. So just note that there are still maps that have the N word on it in this province. That is insane. So there's some good things there, and there's been some really great Calgarians. There used to be in Calgary, there used to be a place called Harlemtown. Councillor Walcott talks about that. We no longer have Harlemtown. So just sort of the erosion of Black society and Black culture that has happened, and that is sad. So I want to get on to talking about some of the school visits that I did this week. So on Wednesday, I had the pleasure of joining the Mustard Seed in a class that they were hosting, some grade 7 students, and they run a program called Seed School. So there is a program called Open Minds, Open Campus here in the city of Calgary. And there is City Hall School, there's Stampede School, there's Jube School, there is Museum School. Museum School is not going on right now at Glenbow while it's happening, and Seed School is one of them. So I think there's 7 different programs total. And essentially it's an immersive experience for a week that is built around the curriculum. Typically, and depending on what grades kids go, it's mostly elementary school, but sometimes the junior high kids go too. And it's a really great experience for schools and for students to be part of it. I had the pleasure of going to museum school with one of my kids when they were in grade 2, so like eons ago, but it's super fantastic and curriculum connected. So what a great experience. We have almost a class every single week at City Hall for City Hall School, and so we get to see those grade 6ers. It's usually grade 6 because that's when they learn about municipal politics. Anyways, however, I went to Seed School. And so I had a really great conversation prompted by questions from these grade 7 students about the root causes of poverty, the root causes of homelessness, and then what are the corrective actions that we can take as a city? What are the actions that those students can take in their own communities? So not only, to address the homelessness that exists, but to prevent homelessness. We talked a lot about homelessness prevention. And that was really, really important too. And we talked about some of the challenges that people are facing and why we're seeing the complexities also then in homelessness that we're seeing. And then we also talked about what happens next. So how do we get people out of homelessness? So we had about an hour-long conversation. And I will say, one of the questions that one of the teachers asked me is like, how do you stay so hopeful? And I said, this is what makes me hopeful. Students make me hopeful because they think about the world in an empathetic way. The students that are coming through schools right now are like consistently getting anti-bullying messaging. They are getting inclusive, welcoming language that they can use. All things that like my generation. So I'm a elder millennial, that, some millennials have it, but elder millennials, Gen Xers, boomers, I'm sorry to be super generic, just sort of helps people understand. But we didn't get that language. We didn't get those tools and skills. And similarly, our teachers didn't have those as well. And so when I think about a platform like Twitter, when I look at who primarily is on there, it's generations of people who are basically online bullies, which our kids know better. And this is why won't Gen Xers, or not Gen Xers, why won't Gen Zs, right? Why will younger millennials avoid those platforms is because they see it for what it is. It's a really horrible, toxic environment. I remember the days when Twitter wasn't, and it was really lovely. But it is that now. And so we have great kids. So the kids give me hope. They understand and see the world in a global environment. They understand implications to the climate on the decisions and the actions that we take. And they understand the implications of a collection of society when we don't take care of people and how that does lead people into homelessness or addictions. And they're really thoughtful and committed to not making the same mistakes that we have made, that we are now trying to correct. So the kids give me hope. The kids give me so much hope. So then I had the pleasure of joining CBE trustee for wards 11 and 13, Nancy Close, and then the MLA for Calgary Acadia, Diana Batten. We toured 4 schools on Thursday morning in Ward 11. And I will say this, it was to tour those schools on a Thursday morning, right after the premier had been on social media on the Wednesday with her extremely transphobic and ignorant identity politics. It was really difficult. We were all holding it together. And when I say we all, I mean the 3 of us, so myself and Nancy and Diana, our staff team that was there with us, and the administrators and the teachers that we met and got to talk to that day. I am so grateful for the inclusive, the warm, the welcoming, the empathetic communities that our schools have built. So I just want to say a huge, huge thank you to the educators and the teachers out there who are doing what they can to understand, learn, because so much of this is about learning as opposed to making judgment calls, learning and practicing and demonstrating to children what it means to be inclusive and welcoming and kind and understanding. So I want to just, there are a lot of thoughts, and I have a lot of thoughts both as a parent of a queer kid and as a parent of a queer kid that has other queer friends, for gender nonconforming people. As I say that, I hate that gender non-conforming. Like, why do you have to conform? That's so why don't we just call them gender diverse and gender experimenting and gender open, gender fluid? I can just think of this like there's so many more positive ways that we can describe where that people are like gender creative. Oh, I like that. When people are gender creative, those are neat things. Imagine having a brain with the capacity to be open to the possibilities of who you can be as a person. That is a cool thing. That's a really, really cool thing. That's a cool thing. Oh man, I'm just like living with that right now. But so many people are also very cool and open to that too. And so many of those people are our educators and our teachers, and they were not consulted on this policy. Our school boards were not consulted on this policy. And it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart to see that a group of people who are creative and curious, but also self-assured, who have the certainty within themselves to know who they are, even as a youth, that is incredible. That is incredible. That we have a government that's playing with identity politics. And so as a parent, not even as a politician, as a parent, my heart hurts deeply. But through hurt can come change. I will be proud to stand up and say what I believe in, what I stand for, and what I want my kids to know to be true, that we are open and a welcoming and a loving household. And I am the same way as a Paul as their elected official. I am open and welcoming and loving. You are safe with me. So I won't go into that much further, but I know that there's a whole community that is hurting right now, and the people that are supportive of them and those allies, they are hurting too. So I see you, I hear you, I'm with you. I have 1 minute left, so I'm going to touch on single-use plastics real quickly. And it's not just plastics, it's actually just single-use items, which a lot of them are plastic and some of them are not. So I just want to give a really quick update timeline. My statement is available on the website. I don't want to go into the decisions. I just want to kind of just overlay where things are at and what the next steps are, just so everyone's kind of in the know together. So on Tuesday, the step was taken through vote to start the process of repealing the single-use bylaw. That will take some time to get all that together, to get to the messaging out to the community. That will come back to a public hearing of council later this spring. So it could be late April, could be May. We don't have a definitive timeline on that. We can definitely share that out when we know about it. And at that time is the final decision of council on whether or not to repeal the bylaw or not. So the bylaw still stands. in its place. So if you are out shopping or if you're at a store and you are being asked to pay for 15 cents, or if you need to ask for a bag or ask for napkins, because the bylaw still stands. So I know there are people who don't like it. That is okay. But in not liking it, just my only ask is you are respectful to the people who are serving you, that you don't take it out on them, and that we know that we're working towards a process of repealing it. We will gather more information. We will continue to hear from the public. And then the bylaw may be repealed. And again, it has to be a vote of council, and it has to be the majority of council. So it would have to be an 8-7 vote to repeal the bylaw. And then we may work towards a new bylaw, or we may not. That is to be determined. So my statement is up on the website. So that's on the collaborate.ca website. You can go check it out there. We have it linked on Facebook. I will link it on YouTube. On Instagram, you can go to my profile and get a link to that. I wish you all a lovely weekend. There might be some snow coming, so have fun with it. Make a snowball, build a snowman, make a snow angel. Embrace winter where you can. I appreciate all of you who have tuned in and watched. Thank you so much. Enjoy your wonderful weekend. We're shaking.